So what we're going to do today is we're going to make an African vegan stew with white beans and rice. So what we're going to start with is some olive oil. We want to put that into our pan and let that heat up. And then we're going to add our diced onions. And you just want to saute these onions until they just start turning brown. And what I'm doing here is just making sure that all the onions have a little bit of oil on them so they heat up evenly. All right, so we've been cooking our onions for about 5 minutes. The pan is just starting to turn brown on the bottom, which is what you want. And at this point, we want to add our jalapeno diced pepper. And if you don't want it very spicy, you can leave the jalapeno pepper out. This just adds a little bit of heat and depth of flavor. And then I'm going to stir that around because I want to get those peppers to start sauteing. And then I'm going to add my garlic, and I want to just cook it for 1 more minute because I want to heat up my garlic so it doesn't have that raw taste in this stew. And then the other thing we're going to do now is we want to add our spices so that those spices, the oils can heat up and get extracted from them before we add our liquid. So what I'm going to add here is some ginger. That's ground ginger. I've got cumin, coriander, and cinnamon. And I know most people don't think about cinnamon in a savory dish, but this is going to add some really intense flavors. And I want to just stir that around. And now we're going to add our low sodium vegetable stock. I have a couple small bay leaves, some thyme. I have some white beans. I have some diced tomatoes that are canned that are no salt added to them. And if you'll notice, we're not adding any salt to this recipe. I have some peanut butter. This is really an African peanut stew. And then we're going to add some diced sweet potatoes. Now remember, if you want to lower the mineral count for those sweet potatoes, if you're on medical advice from your medical team where they want you to lower your potassium or your phosphorus, for phosphorus, you can actually cut these up, put them in water, and leave them in the fridge overnight. And by soaking them in water, you extract some of those minerals out of the sweet potatoes. Now what we're going to do is we're going to bring this to a simmer and just let this simmer for about 20-25 minutes till those flavors have all melted together and we make sure those sweet potatoes are nice and soft. All right, so we're going to finish off our African vegan stew. It's been simmering for about 25 to 35 minutes until those sweet potatoes are nice and soft. You'll see that it's kind of reduced down. And now what we're going to do is we're going to add some chopped kale. This is going to give it some great color. Kale is one of those vegetables that can handle a lot of heat. So we're going to give this just a couple minutes to soften that kale. So I want to make sure and cover all the kale with the stew. You'll see these bright pieces of green now in with our stew. You'll see that the kale's already beginning to turn soft, which is what we want. And then the last thing we're going to do is add some rice to this. You can add rice to the bowl and then put the stew over the top. I just like to add the rice to it all together, and that way if I have any leftovers, I can pre-portion it into bags and freeze it, and then I always have some extra in my freezer. So on those work nights when I don't have a lot of time to cook, this is a great dinner. So I've had some cooked rice. You want to just break that rice up, make sure that it gets all mixed in. And this has this wonderful smell with cardamom, coriander, cinnamon. There's a little bit of garlic in here. You've got a little bit of heat from that one jalapeno pepper. And now we're ready to dish this up. I have a little bit of fresh chopped cilantro to go on top. And I poured just a drizzle of lemon juice over the top too to brighten up and add a little more flavor. And if you notice, we haven't added any salt to this. So by using these acids like lemon juice, we're helping intensify that flavor. And there you go. You have an African vegan stew that has peanut butter. So just make sure people who are not allergic to peanuts can have this stew.